Howdy guys, welcome back to BIG Photography. This is Ben, and what we're going to do today is talk about retouching men's portraits. And to be honest, I don't actually have too many men's portraits because most of the men that I do shoot is usually fitness related, so it's more focused on the body and the muscles and not so much the face. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity just to go ahead and retouch a portrait of myself that I had taken last year. And that way I'm in person, you can see my retouch, and we can make sure that I'm not changing myself too much. But also, I want to talk more about the thought process when you are retouching a man's portrait versus a woman's portrait, because they are quite different. So with all that being said, let's just go ahead and dive right in. All right, guys, welcome back. Let's just go ahead and get started. So this is a portrait I had taken of me last year by a friend of mine, and I really liked the way it came out. A lot of people really complimented me on my smile, which is nice. And so I wanted to make sure that when I retouched it, because I wanted to use it for my social profiles and things like that, that it still looked like me. So this is the before, and here's the after. Obviously not too much of a big change. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. So here is the before, and here is the after. So not a huge difference, but there's a lot of things going on that make this look natural. And so what I want to do in this video is I'm not actually going to retouch the whole thing like I do in my other videos, because if you've watched my channel for a while, you understand all the techniques that I employ when I'm retouching. What I want to talk about more is the why. Like, why did I make these choices? Why did I remove this? Why did I keep this? Or why did I reduce this but not touch this? And because there's a lot of things you have to think about, especially when you're retouching men, and that are different when you're retouching women. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and take a look at retouching myself and show you what I did to get to that after. Alrighty. So these are all my layers already done. I'm going to walk you through each step and talk about why I did it. So the first thing I did is just basic cleanup, right? And the main thing I did here is just take away my hair tie, just because, you know, no reason to have that one on my wrist. Pretty simple clone stamp, a little dodge and burn. And then on my face here, I think on my shirt, there's a few little, you know, strings and little dust or something on the shirt that I take away. But the main thing is here on my face, right? So, you know, this was actually a pretty good skin day, but you know, I have a few blemish, or I guess a few pimples or bumps on my forehead that I think are not normally there. I don't see them right here. So I want to make sure I get rid of those because those are not permanent. I also did a little bit of touch up on my beard. You can see here that I'm just kind of cleaning it up a little bit, right? I'm not, you know, giving myself a full shave or anything, but I'm just kind of cleaning up some of those, what's the wrong one? Cleaning up some of those not spare, but the little hairs that, you know, I think just look cleaner if they're not there. Now, one main important thing is kind of these wrinkles, you know, and these kind of wrinkles under the eye. Now, if you notice, I didn't touch those at all because I want to keep those, because that is, well, one, it shows my expression, and two, it does kind of help, you know, show my age, and I want to make sure that I look the age that I am. I don't want to look like I'm 21 by removing them all. I'm going to show you later what it looks like if you remove all the wrinkles and make it look too smooth and how weirdly it looks. But for now, I kept all of these kind of wrinkles and kind of lines, bags under the eyes, because that looks natural, and you know, that's what we're going for. We're going for a very natural look. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is the hair. So if I zoom in a little bit here, I'm going to go ahead and show you the before and after. So here's the before and here's the after. And as you can see, all I really did was just kind of clean up some of these like stray hairs, especially the gray ones. Now, obviously I have gray hair, which is fine, so I wouldn't want to remove all my gray hairs, but some of the ones that are really sticking out, like this one, some of these kind of curly ones in the front, I think just by getting rid of them, it just kind of cleans up the image in general and looks really nice. I also did the same thing with some of the overly white hairs in my beard. Just by getting rid of those, kind of helps to kind of just, I don't know, I mean, it still looks like I have gray hair, but it's just not so like, I don't know, wild looking where the hair is just kind of going all over the place. So that's just a little bit of before and after. I think it looks natural and still looks like me, I hope. The next thing I want to look at is a very small detail that a lot of people may not pay attention to, but it's this shininess on the forehead. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of knock it down I think we had a beauty dish kind of above me, and so you're naturally going to get some shininess like on your forehead. And not that it looks bad, but I think just knocking it down a little bit just kind of makes the portrait look a little bit more even. The way I did that, actually, I did that with frequency separation. So you can see here I have my low layer, and then above the low layer I have just this part here, which is basically a clone stamp of that layer. This thing that go away. And then I think on the high layer, on the high frequency layer, I just painted back in some of that texture. That way we can kind of preserve some of that texture. And I think the whole thing is grouped. And if I thought it was too much, I can always, bring it down and kind of adjust it to where I think it looks natural, but I think it looks okay at about right there. Alrighty. Next tiny little detail is I wanted to actually make this eye a little bit bigger and a little bit brighter. So all I did was basically clone stamp this eye and put it over that one by doing this. It's super subtle, you can see there, but by just doing that, it just brightens up the eye a little bit while still looking natural. This one here. So I think just that little detail kind of helps bring the eyes out a little bit. Okay, next one. This is the major one. This is where you're going to make the most difference in your image, and that's going to be dodge and burn. So here's a natural dodge and burn. This is the after. So here's before and here's after. And all I really did was kind of reduce some of the darker areas in my skin. I have this vein on my forehead. I had these kind of like little spots underneath my eye, and just some of these darker parts on the side here. All I wanted to do is just kind of, oops, wrong one. Keep pressing the wrong layer. All I want to do is just kind of reduce those a little bit so they look a bit more natural. So just like with the wrinkles, I decided to keep all of my wrinkles when I'm smiling because that's natural. If you were to remove all the wrinkles because, I got to remove the bags out of my eyes or these crow's feet, which I don't think I have, only when I smile, that if you remove those, it looks really weird. So let me show what it looks like. So if I remove all my wrinkles, it looks like that. Now that just looks bizarre to me. Like it looks really unnatural. And then if I add on top of that an overly dodge and burned image, where is this over here? Now it just looks really weird. Like I've got, my skin's way too smooth. I don't have any wrinkles. It looks bizarre. Now I could take the wrinkle layer and I could bring them back a little bit, maybe just kind of like do like 50%. But even this dodge and burn, I think, is a bit too overly done, right? We've basically lost a lot of that character in my face, and I don't want to do that. I want to keep the character, which is something that's very different when you're retouching men. I think when you're retouching men, it's okay to leave in some of those wrinkles, some of those little scars, some of that, what do you call it? Like skin color inconsistency that kind of adds a bit of roughness and ruggedness to the image, which I think is a kind of preferred look for men versus a women's portrait, where you want to make it look a bit more smoother and softer and more even skin tones. So this is, up to this point, this is our before and this is our after. And I think that this looks like me, it looks natural, but it's not overly done. And so I think this is what we're aiming for. We're aiming for this level of kind of retouching this. And so the next thing I did is a little bit of contouring. Now I don't want to go, again, too much. If I look at what I actually did here, so you can see a little bit of highlights on the cheek and the eyes, and a little bit of outline on the sides of the face, just to kind of, give me a little bit more depth. I actually think I reduced this. So this has actually been lowered down from 100%. Let me go bring this up to 100%. So maybe we can see it a bit better. So you can see there, it's just a very subtle kind of look. Gives a bit more depth to my face, and we could keep this at 100%. I think it still looks good. All right, next one, tan. Okay, so I think I realized here, like the chest, my chest here is very pale compared to my face skin tone. So all I did is give myself like a little bit of a tan. That way, I don't know, just looks a bit more even. That way my chest, my arms, and my face all have roughly the same like tonal value, as opposed to having this kind of like unsuntanned chest. I did that. I think basically that is just a hue saturation. Actually set to HSV mode, which kind of helps kind of preserving some of the saturation levels when you are reducing. And so you can see here I lowered the luminosity, but I also like upped the saturation to kind of get that color. And if it's too much, I actually have reduced it. I can actually reduce it a bit more to keep it looking natural. And then when I did that, I noticed kind of a little dark spot in my neck area. So I just went ahead and reduced that, kind of clean that area up. Don't know what that is. Maybe it's a shadow or something, but it looks, I don't like it, so get rid of it. All right, next one. What is this? White beard reduce. Okay. So obviously I have a lot of gray hairs in my beard here, and that's fine. But like when I look at it from a distance, that gray part of my beard is just so like prevalent. It's just like so bright. So I wanted to knock it down. So all I did is just make it a bit darker. And a lot of times doing things the easy way is just so much faster. All I did, if I think, is I just painted with a black paintbrush very lightly over the beard. I tried doing things like frequency separation or doing some kind of like luminosity, a luminosity mask where I'm only painting the white part, but it just kind of got these weird artifacts and kind of weird ghosting and weird outlines. So it's just much easier just to paint. It's very subtle, but I think it's pretty effective. Okay, next, dark spot. Okay, so it looks like I had some dark shadow here that I wanted to reduce. You know, there's a lot of times when you're in the process of retouching, you may not notice something until further down the retouch and you realize, oh, I missed that dark spot or I missed that blemish. And that's fine. You can always go back or just make a new layer. That way you're kind of keeping things in order. And then the next spot, what is this? Chin dark spots. Okay, I think at this distance, I can see these little clumps of hair underneath my chin in the kind of goatee area. And not that they're bad, but I found them a bit distracting. So I think we just go ahead and got rid of them. So you can see those dark clumps of hair. If I get rid of them, it makes a bigger difference at a distance where you can see I don't have these kind of like little dark spots. Just gonna go ahead and get rid of that. And the last part is teeth. I think my teeth are actually pretty decent looking, but I did go ahead and just, I think using HSL, just reduce the reds and the yellows a bit, just to kind of reduce some of that reddish yellow color. And then I think you can go and adjust the luminosity if you want to brighten them up. You go too much, it looks ridiculous. So usually I'm just brightening it by 1, maybe 2%. And that just gives you a little bit of a brighter smile while still looking like natural teeth color. And the last thing we can do, which I haven't done, is talking about that kind of ruggedness and the roughness of the wrinkles in men's skin. You can kind of accentuate that by adding a clarity filter. So I'm gonna go down here to filters and we're gonna go to clarity. And clarity is basically like mid-tone contrast. It takes the mid-tones and adds a lot of contrast to them. So if we go all the way maxed, you're gonna see like what it does. Like it adds a lot of that like really rough texture. And that's way too much. I don't wanna look like that. And it also does lots of weird things with the arm hair and stuff. But I think what we can do is go ahead and reset this. It's just kind of find a nice little medium where we're just adding a little bit of mid-tone texture, but still, you know, looks good. And if we want, because this is a live filter, we can actually go a lot higher up just to see what we're doing, and then invert that mask. So I'm gonna hit Command I to invert, and then I can paint in just maybe things like, let's go ahead and paint in with a full brush. Maybe paint in over the eyebrows, maybe the eyes, like this, and maybe some of the beard, like so. And then that way, you know, it's adding a little bit of mid-tone detail just to the eyes and the beard. And then if we want, we can come in with a lower flow brush and maybe add some just to the cheeks. Just going to give us a little bit of texture on the forehead, maybe down here in the chin. Nothing too drastic. And that way we just get a tiny little bit of kind of mid-tone texture, kind of bringing out like the texture in the skin. And then with all that, we are pretty much done. So this is our after and this is our before, and that's it, right? Pretty simple. Usually when I'm retouching men, it's a lot faster than retouching women because I'm not having to really get in there and really smooth things out. I'm trying to keep things looking as natural as possible. And yeah, that's all I really want to do in this video, is just kind of show you a quick little retouch of more of like the thought process of why I'm doing this and or why I'm not doing something. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, I appreciate you guys for watching my videos always. And I guess I will see you in the next one. All right, guys. Peace.